Hi, I'm Robin.
And I'm Chris. Together we're the Gen X couple.
Hey guys, take two. All Chris's fault.
No.
Yeah, it was 100% your fault.
No.
We were like 10 minutes into it, and then he skipped ahead in the notes, and I lost my place, and it was all messed up. Your fault.
No.
Yes. But anyway, so here we go. We're going to do this much more smoothly this time. Welcome back. Last time, we spent nearly an hour talking about my favorite ride, which was the Haunted Mansion, and we dug into all the little hidden details that make it so awesome. Today, we're going to switch gears and dive into Chris's all-time favorite ride at Disney, Pirates of the Caribbean. Sometimes I will pronounce it Caribbean. There's no rhyme or reason to that, but this time it was Caribbean. Let me tell you guys, this ride is a completely different kind of magic. It's big, bold, fun, and a little spooky in its own way, and it has definitely been one of the most influential attractions that Disney has ever created.
Now, the Pirates of the Caribbean isn't just a single ride. It's a ride that exists in multiple parks, and each has its own personality and style. We're going to cover Disneyland in Anaheim, Walt Disney World in Orlando, and Disneyland Paris. And each one does things a little bit different, from the way the story unfolds to the details tucked into the scenery to the scale and pacing of the ride itself.
Yeah, and what's amazing about Pirates is that it's not just a boat ride with a few skeletons and a super catchy song. It's immersive storytelling at a level that was groundbreaking when it first opened. It's one of those rides where every single detail was thought through thoroughly, right down to the architecture of the buildings outside, to the queue, the way it winds around the ride, the sounds, smells, and the lighting, and even the way the water moves. It all works together to pull you into a world of pirates before you ever even take a step onto one of the boats.
And historically, this ride is huge. Walt Disney himself had a hand in the Disneyland version, which makes it the last ride he personally oversaw. And he wanted to create an attraction that combined adventure, humor, and atmosphere in a way people had never seen before. Before Pirates, most rides were either thrill rides or simply dark rides with little storytelling. Pirates brought together full-scale animatronics, detailed set, immersive sound, and music to create a narrative experience that unfolded as you move through the ride. The combination of story, technology, and immersion set a new standard for theme parks.
Yeah, and each park takes that foundation and runs with it in a completely different way. Anaheim's version is a little more intimate with a cozy New Orleans square vibe, and the boats, they end up floating right through the Blue Bayou restaurant, which you can see at the end of the ride. And that gives you a feeling of actually being on the water. Orlando is bigger scale. It's got a little bit more dramatic moments, or I don't think I said that right, but it's a little more dramatic. There's a few slight changes to the pacing and different story beats that make it feel a little more cinematic. And then Paris goes even further. It's a little more sprawling with expanded environments, a full Caribbean village and fortress, and some sequences that you won't see in the American parks. It's so detailed that it almost feels like you're exploring a real pirate world.
So we're going to take a look at each version uniquely, and we'll start with the exterior and the queue, then go on to boarding, the pacing, the drops, the skeletons, the pirate ship battles, the burning town, the jail scene, the auction scene, and all Jack Sparrow's appearances, and all the other little hidden details and Easter eggs throughout the ride. We'll talk about how Imagineers brought this world to life with animatronics, lighting,
Lighting,
sound, and music, and we'll compare how these elements differ between Anaheim, Orlando, and Paris.
Yeah, and we'll also go into the history and context, who the Imagineers were, what Walt envisioned, and how this ride shaped the way attractions were made from that point forward. Pirates has inspired movies, music, other rides, and even the way people think about storytelling in theme parks. And it still works to this day, decades later, whether you're experiencing it for the first time or the 100th time.
So you need to pay attention because this ride is full of surprises. Slow down, look around, and really take in how the story unfolds in front of you. Every scene, every effect is purposefully, and there's something new to notice each time you ride.
Yeah, so today we're going to explore every corner, every secret, and every moment that makes Pirates of the Caribbean one of Disney's most legendary adventures.
So you know from previous episodes who the Imagineers are. These are the engineers and the mashup, the engineering of the ride. They make a story tell, and they make it actually work in real life. They handle everything. The design, the mechanical engineering, the lighting, the sound, the animatronics, and even the smells and the water. It's a mixture of art, science, and pure creativity.
Exactly. And for Pirates, the Imagineers weren't just building a ride, they were translating Walt Disney's vision. Walt wanted something different from the usual dark ride. He imagined a ride where guests could float through a complete story, like stepping into a living movie set. Originally, it started as a concept for a walk-through wax museum style attraction with static figures, kind of like a museum of pirate lore. But the Imagineers suggested turning it into a boat ride, which completely changed the experience. And suddenly, guests weren't just looking at displays, they were traveling through scenes, moving through time and space as the story unfolded.
So Disneyland opened Pirates in 1967. And Walt had actually overseen much of the design before he passed in 1966.
Do you need to clear your throat? Your voice is like raspy.
Excuse me. So this was the last ride Walt Disney personally worked on. The Imagineers took his ideas and pushed them further. They added effects they had never been done before, moving water, figurines, music, and then when the Magic Kingdom version opened in 1973, the ride was expanded even more and adapted for a bigger park layout, while they still kept the core spirit of Walt's original version intact.
Yeah, and what's amazing is how the ride balances storytelling and technical innovation. Every scene, every animatronic movement, every detail of the set has a purpose. The Imagineers had to solve real engineering challenges, like how to make boats float smoothly through multiple levels, how to synchronize the audio with the movement, and how to create illusions that trick your eye, all while keeping the ride safe, fun, and immersive. And yet, despite all that technology, the ride still feels natural, as if you're really in a pirate world.
It set the new standard for theme parks.
Mm-hmm.
Before this, rides were mostly about thrills or static displays. Pirates combined narrative, immersion, and technology and music in a way no one had ever seen before. It influenced everything that came after it, from Jungle Cruise to Haunted Mansion to the rides we ride today. It showed the world that theme parks could tell a story as fully and vivid as a movie, but in a way that you experience physically and emotionally as a guest.
So before we even take a step onto the boat, it's worth taking a moment to appreciate just how much thought and work went into creating this ride. The Imagineers, guided by Walt's vision, transformed a simple idea about pirates into a multi-sensory experience that has delighted literally millions of guests for decades. And knowing that history makes every drop, skeleton, and hidden detail feel even that much more impressive.
Yeah, and it's a piece of theme park history, and we'll talk about later. It's a technical marvel and a storytelling achievement all rolled into one. And now, after understanding that, we can really appreciate every single scene as we move through Disneyland, Disney World, and Disney Paris.
Right. So let's start at the beginning, the exterior and the queue. And they're all different. The first thing that guests see is the exterior of the building, and it sets the tone for the adventure. In Anaheim, the ride is tucked into New Orleans Square, and it really feels like you're entering a different world. The architecture is ornate, with classic French Quarter-style facades, wooden balconies, gas lamps, and wrought iron railings. Even before you step inside, you're stepping into a story.
And the key itself is part of that storytelling.
Wait. Are you trying to say Q?
In Disneyland,
You were trying to say Q. Oh my God, Q.
Reality compact, but the Imagineers made sure every turn reveals something new.
Oh my God.
You pass through a combination of archways, bridges,
archways,
and courtyards.
God.
Hint at the pirate life, barrows, lanterns, crates, and little props that make it feel lived in. The set design starts here too. Faint creaking of rigging, distant waves, and maybe even a muted cannon in the background. You're already being drawn into the world.
When I write these out, I specifically try to put words that you're not going to stumble over. Yet you...
I don't think that's true.
It is true. And then look, you pronounce Q as key. Anyway, Orlando is totally different. The exterior is larger in scale, designed to fit into Adventureland's Spanish fort aesthetic. It looks almost like a Caribbean coastal fortress with thick stone walls and turrets. The entryway is more open, which allows for larger crowds, but still keeps the immersive feel. Although, I think the queue in Anaheim is entirely outdoors. There's a little bit inside, but I think the bulk of it is outdoors, whereas the bulk of the one in Orlando is indoors once you enter the building. But anyway, the queue in Orlando, it winds through interior and exterior spaces, giving guests a sense of being in a pirate stronghold. The sounds, the lighting, which in Orlando is very dim, and the props from like old crates and ropes and barrels, supplies, all signal that you're about to enter a different world.
And Paris takes a step further. The ride is set in a coastal Caribbean village and fortress with sprawling buildings, docks, and cliffs that make it feel like a real settlement. The queue is massive, weaving through the caves, village streets, and fortification. You get little vignettes along the way. Barrels, rigging, and pirate graffiti, even hints of the life in the village. And the layout is almost like exploring an actual port before you even see the boats. The next attention to detail is next level.
It is. That's the one thing that's consistent across all three parks. The queue and the exterior aren't just decorative. They're part of the ride's narrative. You're not just waiting, you're being immersed in a pirate world. And by the time you reach the boarding area, your brain has already started imagining an adventure, and the mood is set perfectly.
Yeah, and even the boarding areas are carefully designed. In Disneyland, you float under covered bridges and lanterns, and the water feels calm and natural. Orlando's dock area is larger, with more dramatic sightlines into the first scenes of the ride, and Paris really plays with the space. So sometimes you can't even see the beginning of the story from the dock, and it feels like a true journey you're about to embark on.
Yeah, so whether you're in any one of the three parks, the first taste of the story is the queue and the boarding area. You're not just entering a ride, you're entering a world that was built for you to explore.
And that's what makes Paris so different from any other ride. It's the story happening around you, and you're getting ready for the adventure ahead.
All right, so now you're about to enter the actual ride. You get to the boarding area and you board the boat. I had read somewhere that some people jokingly call them doom buggies like they do on the Haunted Mansion, but they're just boats. Don't call them doom buggies. Don't confuse it. But anyway, they're designed to float smoothly through the ride's water system. In Anaheim, the boats are a little bit smaller, and it's, I think, about 8 guests in just a couple of rows. And it makes you feel a little closer to the scenes and animatronics as you move through them.
So the water carries the boat gently forward, so you don't even notice the start. The Imagineers designed it this way so that the ride begins before the first scene. You're already gliding through subtle background details, sounds of the water, and the creaking of the wood. In Orlando, the boats are slightly larger to accommodate more guests, but the system is still very smooth. The way they enter the first scene is a little more dramatic, giving you a bigger sense of scale and anticipation right from the start. And another thing to note is, no matter where you sit, it doesn't matter. There's a chance of you might get wet. We've tried every seat, every position, and there's still a chance you might get a little wet.
Yeah, plan on getting wet. And I've actually gotten soaked because at one point in the ride, they shoot cannonballs and those things splash. Well, I mean, obviously it's not real cannonballs, but when the mock cannonball hits the water, that water goes flying up, and depending on where you're sitting, and I feel like I've noticed I've gotten soaked more on the right side of the boat, like towards the back, like the second to last or last row. But it really doesn't matter, honestly, because you're going to probably get wet on that ride. But anyway, speaking of the boarding area, Paris does something a little different. Their docks are wider and the boats themselves are longer, so the ride feels different right from the very first moment. You can't see the first scene until the boat has already moved a little, which gives you that sense of discovery, like you're sneaking into a pirate world rather than stepping into it. And I think the water feels more natural on that one too, with the currents that make the environment feel a little different.
Yeah, and that allows for precise timing with the animatronics and the effects. Every drop, turn, and pause is choreographed to make sure you see the action exactly how the Imagineers intended it. Disneyland's smaller scale gives it a more personal feel, while Orlando's larger layout allows for more dramatic pacing, longer stretches of dark hallways, and bigger pirate ships and wider set pieces.
Yeah, and because of that, the pacing in Disneyland Paris is slightly slower, giving you more time to look at the details and catch the subtle Easter eggs along the way.
Yep. And Disneyland has subtle ambient sounds, the lapping of water, distant shouts, and maybe a fake cannon in the distance. Orlando adds more layer to the audio, like singing, pirate chatter, and creaking ropes. And then Paris goes all in with a fully immersive soundscape that changes as you move from the scene to scene, creating the feel that the village around you is alive.
Yeah, so even before the first drop, and yes, they all have a drop, or the first big scene, the ride system itself is telling you the story. You're moving through a pirate world, and the ride mechanics are invisible in a way that makes everything feel natural.
Yeah, now that we've covered the boats and ride system, we're ready to get into the first scenes, the skeletons, and all the action that makes Pirates of the Caribbean unforgettable.
Yeah, so as the boat starts to drift into the first real scene, this is where the ride begins to unfold its story. In Anaheim, there are skeletons, and you get subtle hints of pirate life, like things like you see barrels, treasure, and a few of the figures start to move, but just enough to set the mood without overwhelming you.
In Disneyland, the skeletons are small but detailed. You might find one skeleton fiddling with a bottle or playing a tiny instrument, and that really makes the scene come alive. And some of the skeletons are positioned so that they're only partially visible at first, which tricks your eye and makes it feel like there's more going on that you can't see at a first glance.
Yeah, Orlando takes it up a notch. The first hallway of skeletons the skeletons are bigger, the figures are a little larger, and there's more movement. I think there are skeletons drinking. That's where you'll hear them say, "Dead men tell no tales." And it kind of makes it feel like the skeletons are actually alive.
Yeah, and Paris takes it a step further. They tuck skeletons away in corners. Others appear to climb across roofs or swing from beams. The details is incredible. You notice broken planks, scattered treasures, rope swings, and tiny visual jokes that you could ride past a dozen times and still discover something new each time. The scale and layering make it feel like the skeletons are part of the village.
All right, so let's talk about the drops since we mentioned them a few minutes ago, because they're one of the things that make Pirates of the Caribbean feel so dynamic. And here's the thing. There are 2 drops in Anaheim, and they're not just for thrills. They happen because the boats are actually going underground. The ride isn't flat. It's designed to take you deeper into the pirate world as the story unfolds.
So the first drop in Disneyland is smaller. You barely notice it at first, and it occurs as you float past the early town and skeleton scenes. It's subtle, and it's just enough to give your stomach a little nudge, and it transitions you from the calm, exploratory beginning into the action and chaos of the pirate-infested town. It's like you're slipping below the surface of the world, moving into the heart of the story.
Yeah, and the second drop in Anaheim is bigger because the ride descends further underground as you enter the burning village and the pirate battles and all that stuff. The water carries you smoothly down to the lower level scenes and the animatronics, fire effects, and sound design that make the plunge feel a little more dramatic, all while keeping everyone safe. You're literally descending into the world that the Imagineers built. We learned on one of our tours, I think it was the Keys to the Kingdom, that it was built that way because where they positioned the ride, they had to get it underneath the railroad tracks.
Yes.
Because in Anaheim, Disneyland is right in the middle of the city. They didn't have extra room to play with like they do in Orlando. So they had to figure out a way to make it work, and they made it work by building the ride underground, underneath the railroad tracks.
So Disney World, the drops are slightly larger.
There's only 1 drop in Disney World.
No, there's 2.
No, there's 1.
Pretty sure there's 2.
Would you like to make a bet? I would love to shake on this right now. There's 1 drop.
It depends what you consider a drop.
There's only 1 drop. Shake on it.
No.
Let's make a bet right now because you know you're wrong. There's 2 drops in Anaheim. There's 1 drop in Orlando. 100%. I'm willing to bet anything you want. Anything.
Anyway.
Exactly. He won't take the bet because he's wrong. There's 1 drop.
All right. The first drop takes...
It's the drop!
I'm just reading what you wrote.
Well, obviously I didn't write it right. There's 1 drop.
All right. The 1 drop takes you through the burning village and the pirate ship scenes. The water flows, and the sounds of cannon fire and crashing barrels make it feel cinematic.
You need to clear your throat again because you keep going. You have got a frog in your throat. Yeah, after that first drop, actually on all the rides, you come to the pirate ship scene, and that's where the cannonballs go flying, and you're probably going to get wet. Maybe not. It really depends, but I swear to God, the water's attracted to me, so I get wet every time I go on this ride. Paris takes it to the next level. There are 2 drops. They're a little bit longer, but they're integrated into the story, so you feel like you're actually sinking into the middle of a sprawling Caribbean harbor. The first underground section eases you in, giving you a sense of moving below the village streets, and the second drop lands you squarely in the heart of the chaos. And that's where you'll see expanded sets and dramatic water effects that make it feel enormous.
It's a clever combination of engineering and narrative design that few rides ever achieve.
Yeah. And understanding that drops exist because the ride is literally taking you underground makes you appreciate the Imagineers' genius even more. Oh, and then after the drops, I don't know why I paused. Anyway, after the drops, your boat floats directly into the pirate ship scene. Like we said, you're probably going to get wet. In Anaheim, the ship is, I think, a little bit smaller. That's just my perspective, but I think it's a little bit smaller. It's got Captain Barbossa in Orlando.
Disney. No, Disney. Yeah, Orlando.
But I think it's a different pirate in Anaheim, but I'm not sure. But it's Captain Barbossa from the movies in Orlando. And that's where they shoot, quote-unquote, cannonballs. And like we said, you're probably going to get a little wet.
So one pirate in Disney World is firing a cannon, another is hauling treasure, and a third swings on a rope. And again, the cannons create water splashes timed with the sound effects perfectly. So your boat feels like it's part of the battle, and the coordination of water, lightning, lights, and sound makes it feel like you're really in the middle of the action.
I've never seen any other thing on the ship because I'm preparing not to get wet. I don't like it when my hair gets wet because I have curly hair, and then if it gets wet, it curls. So I'm usually taking steps to protect my hair. So I've never even seen anything other than the ship captain. But anyway, Paris is a little more cinematic with the pirate ship. It's got multiple decks, dozens of animatronics performing actions. I think there's a sword fight. It just makes it just adds to the realism. And they also have cannons, and you're probably going to get wet.
So
I can't get over the getting wet part, you guys.
Disneyland focuses on intimacy and subtle humor, while Disney World focuses on spectacular on larger scale. And Paris focuses on cinematic immersion.
Yeah, so now let's move on to the auction scene. And I believe the one, at least in Orlando, was redone. They used to auction off women, but that's not politically correct anymore. So now they auction off rum. But that is one of the ride's most memorable moments. In Anaheim, it started out as the auctioneer calling off a woman, and then the pirates were bidding on her, which was more reflective of darker humor in the 1960s. But yeah, now they're auctioning off a barrel of rum. So they keep the humor and energy intact without the older, inappropriate humor.
Yeah.
Although that was the humor of the time, but it's not appropriate anymore.
And it also changed at Disneyland Paris, when now they focus on townspeople, goods, and rum. And Orlando updated it in 2018. And Disneyland was in 2018 also.
Mm-hmm. And let's see. All three parks, you can see how they did this while they were they respected the original ride while updating it for modern audiences. They keep that classic feel, the scale and action, theatrical touches, and they retain the humor and liveliness that make the auction scene iconic. And even with the update from a bride auction to barrels of rum, it still remains immersive, funny, and full of detail.
Exactly. In Orlando, though, the jail section, what is coming up next, is at the place at the very end of the ride.
Wait, did we talk about the town burning? The town burns in between there.
Oh, yeah, it does.
I think I left it out. I stink. Sorry, I butchered your favorite thing. I don't even know if I have that in here. But
no, it's
actually, the jail scene in Anaheim is before. Maybe that's why I'm getting confused. Because in Orlando, it goes burning town, jail. Yeah. But then the jail comes earlier, I think, in Anaheim. It's like out of order.
Yeah. But it's a good transition. It acts as the ride's final interior scene, letting guests see prisoners in cages and pirates goofing around before the boats return to the exit. It's a subtle but noticeable difference in pacing and the story structure between the parks.
Yeah, and I think in both, you can see the pirates trying to coax a dog, trying to get the keys. Yes. The dog is holding the keys to the jail cells, and they're like, oh, come here, boy. Yeah. And they're whistling at the dog. And they have that at all three parks.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know where we were. I lost my place, but you can take it away.
So at the end of the ride, which is Jack Sparrow in the Gold Room, and a little note is, who's the
Johnny Depp?
Johnny Depp has actually been in the Disneyland version a couple of times. They take out the animatronic and he sits in the chair and he says different lines, or he'll start walking around. And we've never seen it or happened, but
I think he's had his differences with Disney, so I don't think he'll be doing it going forward, but he did it when the ride first came out. But if you're riding along the ride, Jack Sparrow pops up in all sorts of places. He'll peek out of a barrel. All three rides have him at the end of the ride, and at Disneyland Paris, he alternates between English and French. I have a video of him speaking French, which is off-putting in a way for those of us who know the movies in English, of course, but it's still a pretty cool touch. And then, you end up, that's the end of the ride. And then, of course, they've got awesome gift shops, and I believe there's a few hidden Mickeys along the way, but I've never found one.
Yeah, I've never seen
We
it.
talked about hidden Mickeys in the last episode, and I've never seen a hidden Mickey. There's supposedly one in Orlando on the bridge where the pirate's sitting on the bridge, like his foot is hanging over and he's up there drinking rum, but I've never found it. So I don't know.
We'll have to take a look this time.
I know. We have to plan that out. There's supposedly several planted within the figures, and I think there's one on a balcony somewhere, and I think there might even be hidden Mickeys in a couple of the coins or on a flag, but I've never found any of them. And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Is that all you have?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Right.
This was awesome, and we'll be heading to You're not going to hear this until the end of July. I say this all the time, but we're recording this at the beginning of May. So Chris and I have 2 trips to Disney World and a trip to Disneyland Tokyo before you'll ever even hear this. Do they have a Pirates ride in Tokyo? I don't even know.
We'll see.
I know they have a haunted mansion, which is literally all I care about.
They have a small world too, I think.
They do, you're right. I'm excited to hear all this stuff in Japanese, so we'll have to make sure Google Translate is on and ready to go. But anyway, so thank you for joining us. This was a little disjointed. I feel like we stumbled through this one, but thank you for sticking through it. We don't have any secrets for you like we did at the end of the Haunted Mansion one. Sorry.
Or the secret could be that you're going to get wet.
Yeah, that's true. You're going to get wet. And the other thing
not soaked, but
I've gotten soaked. Remember one time I got splashed so bad that water got into the charging port on my phone, and then I couldn't use my phone because you know how I have an iPhone and you get a warning that says there's water in there. And
I would say though you have like a 10% chance of not getting wet.
Or if your name is Robin, you have 100% chance of getting wet. I swear to God, no matter where I sit, the water finds me. But whatever, it's fun and it's awesome and it's an amazing ride, and it's one of the original rides from Anaheim, and it's look now. There's how many Pirates of the Caribbean movies out? Johnny Depp is probably one of the best actors of our time.
Yeah.
He pulled off Jack Sparrow perfectly. And he said he modeled his behavior after Keith Richards, from the Rolling Stones, who's pretty sure he's like 1,000 years old now. I'm not sure exactly, but he's up there. But Chris is itching. Like, he just rolled his eyes at me. Like, every time I'm rambling on, he's like, go, say it.
See you later, alligator.
In a wild crocodile.